might not be created at all also. So what is RTM? How does it look like? Let's have a look. I've already made you the so the requirements can be divided into two types of requirements. One can be the business requirement and one can be the product requirement. So what do you mean by a business requirement? Business requirement means describe in business terms what must be delivered or accomplished to provide value. So what exactly do you mean by this? Let's say you have a CEO of a company and he needs a website to be developed. So what will he tell you? So what will he tell you? The CEO of the company. The CEO of a company needs a website to be developed. So what will he tell you? What will he tell you? What does he want in the product? So there is a CEO of a company and he wants the website to be developed. So what information will he give you? Basically, he'll give you high-level information. Right? He cannot go into the details. Okay, this should be how this is how should the screen look like, or this is how many pages it should have, this should be the layout, this should be the tab. He's not going to go into that. So he's going to give you high-level information. He's going to give you the high-level requirement understanding. So that is known as your business requirement. Then you have something known as your product requirement. It describes the property of a system or product in detail. So now if I say this, if I say whatever CEO told me, I'm going to break it down into complete details. So this is my product requirement and this is my. Is this clear to everybody? Is it clear to everybody? Yes? Yes. So business requirement is high level. It's not going to be into complete detail, but then if you break it out into complete detail, it is going to be your product requirement. So this is basically the requirements, how they are classified. Now, one thing for us to remember is that requirements can be, why do I need a requirement document? Why do I need a requirement document? I want something, right? I am the client, I want something. So let me go ahead and just tell you. Let me just go ahead and tell you verbally. I want a website, I want this, I want that, and I'm telling you verbally. Why do I need to go ahead and tell you?
So we don't forget. So,
why do I need a requirement document?
We don't have changes.
Because we have to serve as it is going to serve as a contract between the customer and the developer, QA, BA, PM. Why? Because if you have one document and everybody refers to that document, just imagine the number of miscommunication you are not going to have with respect to if there is a document. If there is no document, somewhere or the other, somebody or the other is going to make some or the other kind of assumption, which we don't want. So if there is one document, that document, everybody video, you can get it in PDF, you can get it in HTML, you can get it in any form. So if I just say, oh, requirement is, like when you hear requirement, you feel, okay, it might be some standard kind of a document. No, it can be just in any form depending on which project, which client you are working on. Right? So that is very important, and you need to understand what is wireframe. Wireframe is nothing but a mock-up screen. So wireframe is nothing but a mock-up screen. Now, this is one diagram. It does not have any meaning as such, but this is to show you that in one project, you can have so many teams involved. So what are the teams that are involved? Here, this is the first diagram is how the customer explained it. The second diagram is how the project leader understood it. How the analyst designed it. How the programmer wrote it. How the business consultant described it. How the project was documented. How operations installed it. How the customer was billed. How it was supported. And what the customer actually really needed. So when you look at a project, there are so many teams, there are so many people involved in it, right? So when you have so many people involved in it, we don't understand. We just see one sheet of requirements and we feel me as a tester, I'm just supposed to look at these requirements and I'm supposed to create my test cases. But there are so many different people associated with the project. Everybody has their own understanding for the project. So that's why you need to have a requirement. And earlier what used to happen was we used to have huge documents like 20, 30 pages of requirements, and we were used to study it. Now we generally try to keep our requirements like 6 to 7 lines, 1 page at the max. So all this change has come. Why? Because of the changing trend in the industry. Earlier what used to happen, we used to have 20 pages of requirement, and if you're like in waterfall we discussed, if your project was like 1 year, first 3 months you were only doing requirement. And once you finish the requirement, then you started with the second phase, but you never realized that the technology changes so fast that those requirements can get obsolete anytime. So that's why all these changes came up, agile and all this. So this is the kind of communication will happen if the requirement document is not there for our understanding. So when you go in an organization and they say okay, what if the requirement document is not there? How will you test it? So what will you answer? Let's say we are putting you in a project where there is no requirement document. How will you do it? How will you answer this question?
Request for the requirement document.
What else? Request for the requirement document. There is no requirement document, Nikhil. What will you do? There is no requirement document.
Then I guess take notes.
And then
Took notes and create the
when you go
requirement
for an interview, for everything you have to sound like so what if it's not there, I will manage it. That is the kind of attitude you should show them, even if obviously without a requirement document is going to be very difficult, but you just need to go ahead and tell them that if the requirement document is not there, I'm going to speak to the BA. I'll try to analyze. I'll try to go through the software. I will meet the developers. I'll talk to the developers. I'll have meetings with them, and then I'll do exploratory testing also on the existing software that is there, and then I will try to put the requirement documents in place.
Yeah, so I did that.
Or maybe I'll help the BA do it. Then I guess take down notes and create the requirement document and send it for approval from BA and client. Yeah, so basically you might not go ahead and create all the requirements, but you can say that I can assist in doing it.
Right.
So this is requirements. Now this is the Gmail screen that we
General
already did yesterday. So I'm going to move to the next slide and we are going to talk about
depends on company.
Now what is RTM? Why is it required? What is the format of RTM? RTM and let's create the RTM for a requirement. So RTM is requirement traceability.
చాలా మంది అయితే ఇవ్వరు కమ్యూనికేషన్ అట్లా, ఎందుకంటే మధ్యలో గొడవ
traceability.
పెద్ద పెద్ద కంపెనీలు ఇస్తాయి కానీ.
Why is it required? Format of RTM. Like if I'm telling you that requirements are coming to me in so many different ways, that they are coming from Excel sheet, they are coming from here, they are coming from there. So RTM is one place, RTM is one document wherein you will go ahead and you will record all the requirements there. Let's say at this point of time we are using Excel. Later we'll talk about the tool also. But let's say right now we are using Excel, and using Excel I'm going to record all the requirements and I'm going to put them in an Excel sheet. So requirement traceability. So RTM is basically one document. Let's see how does the format for RTM look like.
Excel
that I already mailed it to you yesterday. This I already emailed to you yesterday. So here I have the description and here I have the, so right now just don't look at these columns C, D and E. I want you to look at the columns only ID and description. So what's here in the ID and description? So obviously you're going to put the requirement ID and the requirement description. So this is one document where you can put in all the requirements. This is clear? Now, the second part, can you see this ID, test case name and description? So what is the first step that you are doing here? The first step that you are doing here is you are going ahead and the first step that you are doing is you are going ahead and you are writing down the requirements. That is the first step you are doing. So you've written all the requirements. When you get more requirements, you keep adding them into the RTM. Now the second step is you write the test cases for the requirements. Yes? Yes. Third step is once you've written the test cases for the requirements, you are going to map the test cases with the requirements. So all this is the step 1 and step 2 is done in RTM and this test cases are written separately. Does it make sense to everybody? Yes. Now why am I going ahead and doing the mapping with of the test cases with the requirement? Why am I doing the mapping?
Make sure you're not missing anything.
No, it's all the test cases, all the requirements. Yes. Yes. So I am doing this mapping. Yes, correct, Nikhil, to make sure that nothing is missing. That you are not missing any requirements. And for each requirement, test cases are written. Is this clear to everybody? We are not testing cases. No. Mapping you are doing as a precautionary thing. Whenever you get a vaccination for your children, why do you write it there that you got the vaccination? To make sure that again this year this vaccination is done. So that tomorrow if you have to map it, you can map it. So you write the requirement and then test cases you are writing separately and executing separately. But you do the mapping here just to make sure that against each requirement there are test cases that are written. So that you don't miss out on anything. It is like a precautionary thing so that you don't miss out anything. So that all the requirements are covered and for each requirement you have the test cases that are written. So this RTM, whatever we map there, okay. So whether it's part of it's got nothing to do with that. You don't need to know. That test case is separate, this is only the mapping. So basically this is done manually. Everything is done manually here. You have to do it manually. There is no other option for you. Right?
జనరల్ గా
How is the yeah? See,
జనరల్
what happens is generally, see, this is how
కానీ
the RTM
గ్యారంటీలు
looks
ఏం
like.
లేవు అట్లా.
Yes, right now we are doing RTM in the Excel, but when we do quality center, we'll do RTM in the quality center also. We'll see how
వాళ్ళు
it is
ఇవ్వకపోయినా
done
కూడా
in the
చదువుతుంది మన
tool.
దగ్గర ఆ
But
ఫామ్
right
ఒకటి
now it's
ఉండాలి,
being
మనం
done
క్రియేట్ చేసుకోవాలి
here.
ఇంకా.
Now just try to understand one thing. Let me go ahead and let me insert some columns here.
It's not
Now
a big
when you
complex.
join a company, format of RTM is going to be different. Format of everything is going to be different. These are just examples. So now you join the company and their RTM, their format looks like this. DESIGM. So they have design here, then they have code here, and then they have test cases here. So obviously you are not going to be writing what is going to be there in the design or not.
95% of the companies దగ్గర ఆల్రెడీ ఫామ్ ఉంటుంది
Or
ఏదో ఒక
let's say
రూపంలో.
valid, or let's say main page. Just for example. So for
Doesn't
main
mean the
page,
same
what's
columns
the
ఉంటాయి కదా.
design done?
ఆమె
Yes.
ఎగ్జాంపుల్
So here
చూపిస్తాను
the
కానీ
name
అక్కడ న్యూ
of
కాలమ్స్ ఉండొచ్చు,
design
వాళ్ళకి
document,
అనుకూలంగా ఏది ఉంటే అది
and
పెట్టుకుంటారు,
here
అది నువ్వు ఫాలో
name
అవ్వాలి.
of the file for which where the code is
దాన్ని మనం
done for the main
అడ్జస్ట్
page.
అయ్యి మనం
Then
దాన్ని
here the test
మేనేజ్
case name,
చేసుకోగలగాలి.
test main page, and here the description.
కొంతమంది యాక్చువల్గా డివిజన్ కి తేడా ఉంటుంది. లైక్ పెద్ద కంపెనీస్లో ఎట్లా ఉంటుంది అంటే ఇది ఆల్రెడీ వేరే ఒకటి చేసి ఇచ్చేస్తాడు నీకు మొత్తం, నీకు ఓన్లీ డాక్యుమెంట్ వస్తుంది, మనం చేసేది ఏమన్నా ఫాలో అవ్వడం అట్లా అనమాట. ప్రోగ్రెసివ్ లాంటి కంపెనీలో మెంబర్స్ ఎక్కువ కదా, ఇది ఎవరికొకరికి వేరే వాళ్ళకి అసైన్ చేస్తాడు పిఎం అట్లా, వాడు చేసి అందరికి క్యూఏలో అందరికి ఇచ్చేసి ఇస్తాడు అనమాట అట్లా. సో యూ ఆల్రెడీ హ్యావ్ ఇట్ దెన్. టెస్ట్ కేసెస్ కూడా అంతే, ఒకటి రాసి ఇచ్చేస్తాడు అట్లా, నువ్వు దాన్ని ఫాలో అవ్వడమే అట్లుంటుంది. డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ హౌ బిగ్ ద కంపెనీ ఇస్ ఆర్ అట్లా. If it is a smaller company, you are doing everything. Yeah, bigger company, you will have less thing isolated. That's my opinion.
Yeah, if there is a change in the requirement, let's say this main page is changed, right? So if there is a change here, just see how easy it is going to be for me to change the test cases. Because I know for this requirement, these are the 3 test cases that are written. So when the requirement changes, I need to just make changes in these 3 tests. Yeah, let's say you join an organization, you don't know what is this main page, how many test cases were written, you don't know, you open the RTM and you see for this main page, these are the 3 test cases that are written, and then if you want, you can go ahead and make changes in these 3 test cases with respect to the change in the main page here. So you are going to show us how to map the RTM. Yes, I'm going to show you. So to map the RTM, first we are going to go ahead and create. First we are going to go ahead and we are going to write down the. So what we are going to do is, first example we'll take for Gmail. We are going to write the RTM. When I say RTM, obviously we are only going to write the requirement. Then I'm going to write the test cases for the Gmail. Then I'm going to go ahead and map in RTM. So this is what I'm going to do. Till now, any doubts?
No.
This is what we are going to do. So let's start with the first RTM. We are going to do it for Gmail, then we write test cases for Gmail, then we map it in the RTM. This is what we are doing. But the concept of RTM is clear to everybody. Why do I need it? Why is it called requirement traceability? Because I'm going to trace back that for each requirement there are test cases written. Right? Let's just go ahead and read this one, what's written here. So requirement traceability metrics refer to the mapping of requirements to the test case document. Traceability makes it possible to trace each requirement to the design and code that implement that particular requirement and test cases that test that RTM, if you start creating all this, then it gets very cumbersome. But still, you should know what an RTM is. So any changes to the requirements at a later stage ensure through RTM that the appropriate test cases are also updated. So it ensures that all requirements are implemented, and it ensures test cases are developed for all the requirements. So is this clear? Right, so let's first do the RTM bit. For that we have to go ahead and we have to open the requirement first for the Gmail which I mailed you yesterday. Some of you wanted the syllabus. This is the syllabus. I've just opened it, but I will share it to you later after the class. What happened? That's really sad. I was just asking her, are you able to see the screen, right? Because so this is the first requirement that we are going to look at. For this requirement, we are going to go ahead and write the RTM. You need to open the RTM, download that RTM, you can do the following. Maybe first let me do it for one of them, then the second example that we did, whatever I'm doing for one, you will do it for the second entire thing yourself, so that you will know where you are getting stuck. And please do not worry and do not expect yourself to do it from the first time onwards. So if you're not able to do it, that's perfectly all right. The only thing that you need to do is you just need to go ahead and give it a try. That's all. So I'm going to open the RTM and I'm going to open the requirement. These are the two things that I'm going to open. And what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and write the requirements in the RTM. So this is my screen. This screen can also be known as a mock-up screen or a wireframe. That is the name given to it. These things on the left hand side, these are known as the business rules that are given to you. And these are your requirements. This is the requirement ID. So when you have to write requirement here you're going to write the requirement ID, and here you're going to write the description. So for the first requirement ID is FR001. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back here and I'm going to write here as FR001. So FR001. So what is my requirement for FR001? This is my requirement. So I'm just copy pasting it. So if I see my requirement here, this is what my requirement is for the page. And this, what is this? This is the Gmail name page, right? Then if I look at the next requirement, what is that? This requirement is FR001. So here if I put FR001A, then what is this? This is for a valid login. So here I come back here and I say valid, let's say login valid, whatever. Nothing is incorrect or correct here. So it is just basically your understanding. So I take this, I copy the format and I change it to this. And I take this format painter and I format this. Right. So now, which is my third requirement that I have? FR001B. So I come back here and I can write it here. And this is for my login invalid. So I come back here.
Sam, పేర్లు ఎట్లా పెట్టాలో చెప్పేటోడు.
And this is for my
ఏదన్నా పెట్టుకో నీ ఇష్టం.
కాపీ పేస్ట్ చేసేది ఉన్న ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్
Whatever questions we have, we are going to go ahead and ask the DA and then we are going to fill it up here. Then third one is your blank login and then the requirement is FR001 C. So I come back here, FR001 C. Then I come back here and then this is the username. I come here. Right, so what I've done, I have written the requirement in the requirement traceability matrix. Now, where am I going to use this information that is given to me? This information will be used when I'm creating the test data. So don't get confused with test data. Right? So don't get confused with test data. Test data, we are going to do it later down the line. With this test data, I'm going to create that what input I can give for the username and password. What are the different combinations I can do? So this is your RTM. Now we are going to create the test cases. So let's go ahead and open the format. So this is my format that I sent you yesterday. Now in this format, I'm going to first go ahead and create the test cases for this. Now again, you are going to have this each and every document that you prepare. Each and every document that you prepare has a version. Please remember that in an organization, any document that you create has a version. And when that document is reviewed, the version gets updated. So when you first baseline something, baseline means that is a final version. It is now again the baselining can be different. Like I'm saying 1.0 in an organization, it can be 1.0.0. So then there are some changes that are done in that. So then the updated version becomes 1.1 or 1.2. Or if there are too many changes, then it might become 2.0. So that really depends in an organization that what is the version scheme that they are using. Right? So each and every document, so tomorrow, like I was working in the training department in the previous company also. So in the training department, each and every PPT that we had, it had a. So whenever we used to have our audits, they could go ahead and actually ask us that what is the current version for your PPT and from where are you picking it up? Or if it was version 1.0 and now it is version 2.0, show me the changes that you made in that PPT. So everything has to be traceable, whether it's a version, whatever. So there are a lot of tools also, tools for version control. There can be a lot of tools also for version control that are there. Right? Now, let's go ahead and see the document. Before I go into the document, let's see what a test case is. So what is a test case? Test case is a set of actions which is executed to verify a particular feature or functionality of your software application. So it is a set of actions. So there are actions. There is number 1, there is number 2, number 3, number 4. So what are these actions going to do? They are going to verify that a particular requirement or a particular feature or a particular functionality is working for your software application. Right? Right? Now, why do I need a test case? Because I can go ahead and find defects. I can go ahead and maximize my bug hunt. Imagine if you don't create test cases and you're just going haphazard, there is no direction, no nothing, then obviously you will find less bugs. It is going to help managers make a ship or no ship decision. So whether should I go ahead and release my product or not? Because you will, with respect to the test cases, you can see how many bugs have been found, and then you can make a ship or a no ship decision. Access conformance to the specific or requirement. So here it is basically, is it meeting the requirements or not? Minimize safety related to the lawsuit risk, because again, if you cannot release it, there is going to be some kind of a legal cost or anything associated with it. Assesses or assures quality, verifies the correctness of the product. So that's why you're going ahead and writing the test cases. Now this is known as a, again, in every organization, the review form can be different. But whenever you join an organization audit, if your organization is certified, then definitely all these things make a lot of difference. So there is going to be a proper process in place. So you will write the test cases, you are going to review it. So like if you have a formal review that we discussed, so you're going to write the document name, the document version, who created the document, who is going to review that document, what are the details, and then this is going to be number, the reviewer initial, whoever is the reviewer. Then in which section is he reviewing it? Like, and what are the comments of the reviewer? Then what is the priority? Do you need to go ahead and fix it quickly, or it can wait, or whatever it is? Then now, is it being accepted? Do you need to discuss more on it, or it's already been there and that's why it's a duplicate? And then you have the author's comment. So this is, author means who's written the document. So your test case is being reviewed. So the person who's reviewing it is going to fill this up. Then you have to answer it, that you accepted, you discuss, or you duplicate, or whatever it is. The review form is going to be filled by the person who's reviewing it. Right? It is going to be filled by the person who's reviewing it. So you are just a thing of going ahead and filling up and reviewing this form. Then, let's say I am the one who is reviewing, let's say Jyoti's test cases. Right? So who's the author? Jyoti. Who am I? I am the reviewer. So Jyoti is the author basically who has written it, and I am the reviewer. So who's going to fill up the form? The person who is reviewing is going to fill up the form. Who's going to update it? Jyoti is going to update it based on the input given by me. Yeah, Jyoti is going to write like, okay, yes, I accept it, I will make the changes. No, I think this is not correct, or do I need to discuss it with the BA? Yeah. Again, the format can vary. It's not necessary. Don't look at the format. Look at the concept that there is going to be a review form for every formal review that is done. You are going to go ahead, and if your document is being reviewed, you have to make the changes as per this document. Okay. Then that person says whatever the requirement is.
వేరే వాళ్ళు రివ్యూ చేస్తారు
రివ్యూ చేసి వాళ్ళ పేరు మనం మళ్ళీ చెప్పి
Yeah, again it can be updating saying done.
ఇది మాత్రం నువ్వు చేస్తావు
Again, when you are reviewing it, whenever there is a
చెప్పింది
follow-up, they will
accepted,
open this
deny,
review form,
decline,
will open this review
duplicate.
form and say,
Okay.
I gave you these 5
సపోజ్ వాళ్ళు
points.
చెప్పింది నీకు ఇష్టం
Okay,
అనుకో
you fixed 4,
యాక్సెప్ట్
1 is
చేస్తావు
still left,
డిస్కస్ చేయాలని కూడా
Jyoti.
డిస్కస్ సర్కిల్ కొడతావు ఎందుకని
Or if everything is done, so
Duplicate
you
అనుకో.
will say, yes, Jyoti has done all the
Duplicate
points, then basically now this is
ఆల్రెడీ తెలుసు నాకు వేరే దగ్గర ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ వచ్చింది ఈ విషయంలో అన్నారు
No, review is always static review. It has got nothing to do with the testing. It is different in the sense it's more like that before you go to Stone Mountain for actually hiking, you are going through the map and you are checking is the map correct or not, is this okay, I have to take a left after whatever you're doing. So that has got nothing to do with your hiking, you're doing preparation. So here this review is a review of the document that you have created, and it can be any document. It can be a review for a requirement document, review for a test case document, review for a test plan document, but depending on which document is, review will be done by different people. If you there is going to be a server or there is going to be some location. Generally, when they have audits, for every project they have to have their central location where all the documents are kept. So when they do the audit, they do it on those central documents. So you will be told once you are done with this, put it in that folder. So they will tell you when you join the organization if they have this process in place. So before starting, I think it's done and somebody reviews and then you execute it. This is the normal process that is generally followed when you join an organization. What is being done can be totally different. It depends. Because this is how I have worked all these years. Whenever we create any document, it has to be reviewed. Whatever points are there, you have to make sure you finish all those points, whatever it is, and then you go ahead and update your review form. Then you go ahead and update your test cases. Then once the review has been done, you put this review form and those test cases into the location so that whoever is copying or whoever is picking up the latest document. That only comes if you are updating the requirements. Right now, I'm updating the test cases. So what has test cases got to do with the latest software? Test case has nothing to do with it. If there is a change in a requirement, only then the coding will change. Only then will you, that means there is a change in the software. Because there is a change in the requirement, obviously your test cases are going to be updated. Once the test cases are updated, a review of the test cases will be done. When the review of the test case, obviously if you make some changes in the test cases, somebody will review it again. That is the original process, how it works. Yeah. So if there is a change in the requirement will be reviewed again. Now, because there is a change in the requirement, there might be a change in the planning. So the test plan will also be updated and reviewed. This is the normal process, how it works. Now, when you actually go to work in an organization, they might say, we don't have any time for review, just leave it, just go to the next. So that is different. That when you join the organization, you will get to know. So when it's like, getting married is such a rosy picture, but when you actually get into marriage, you realize what it is. So this is the project. Rosy picture is, after every agile, we are going to have a sprint review meeting, we are going to have this. When you enter the project, there is no time to die. Where will you have a sprint review meeting and where will you have a retrospective meeting? Let's do it next time. We don't have any time. So it's like that. So when you join a project, everything might be very streamlined and everything might not be streamlined. But what we are doing is we are doing the correct rosy picture, how it should be done. So if some points are missed out, this is the ideal thing. But if we don't tell you all the things, then you will never get to know that it should have been there. So tomorrow if you join an organization and you go for an interview and there are a lot of questions they ask you that, okay, what is it that you did in your previous organization that you are proud of? So tell me, what have you done? Any one thing that you've done which you think you are really proud of. Like I've done my job. That is your job. You have to do it. You have to do your job 100%. Say one thing that you did, any one thing in your project, one thing that you did that made a change in your project or something that you were proud of. I didn't know everything about all the projects. So when I got into the software thing, so whatever the reports used to get, I know everything because I started from the base. So I need to know what should be the report should look like. I know those things because I started from the base. Because it was different for me. The corporate was in that software. Okay. Create a good template for documenting test cases. Okay. So one thing you can say is finding out an undetected bug. Okay. So one thing that you really changed or you're proud of is maybe you found some kind of a severe bug which nobody could find. Right? Then you can be that there was no review process in place for organization. So I started the knowledge sharing. I made a change because there are so many technologies. There is cloud, there is there are different seminars that happen on Agile. So what I do is I log on to the webinars and whatever information I get from here, I started the knowledge sharing session. So maybe I picked up, okay, what topics? But again, whatever comes from your mouth, you should have answered, okay, which knowledge sharing sessions did you do? So anything that comes out from your mouth decides your next question for the interview. Okay, which knowledge, okay, which bug did you log? Okay, what was the process before the test cases were not being reviewed? Why did you introduce this? Because if test cases are not being reviewed, then the quality of the test cases are not good, and generally there is no surety that when you go ahead and log the bugs, those bugs were being rejected by the developers. But if your test cases are good, then obviously the bugs that you find are the genuine ones. And similarly, the knowledge sharing sessions I started with, you can say I started with Agile. You can say I started with bug reporting. That how can you go ahead and log bugs? What should you keep in mind? How should you report the bugs that you have logged? Or I started classes on communication skills. So you just need to know any answer. But whatever comes from your mouth decides the course for your interview's next question. So if you don't want to go into one topic, if you don't know about RTM, we did not create RTM in my project. You will never go to that because you've not done it. Have you created test plan? I did not get an opportunity to create a test plan, but given an opportunity, I would like to do it. Did you create RTMs in your project? We did not create RTMs, but I know the concept, and given an opportunity, I will do it. So that itself changes the whole this thing of your scenario. So then here scenario is your module name, test case ID, precondition, description, test step, test data, expected result, actual result, and comment. So all this we did yesterday when we did the format of the test case. Scenario is the module. Test case ID is an ID which is unique. There is your team manager might go ahead and say that for test case ID write three columns, like if it is Gmail, then say GM, whatever. So they will tell you. What is the precondition? That means before I can execute this particular step, what should have been completed before that? So what do you mean? That steps that need to be executed before this test step execution. So that means before I execute what is written here, what should have been done? So if let's say my first step is that I'm opening www.gmail.com. So what should have happened before I go ahead and do that? I should have internet connection. If I have to do login valid, invalid, blank, what should happen before that? I should be on my Gmail login page before I can do all these. So what is it that I need before I can go ahead and execute that step? And generally, what do I need before I can go ahead and execute that step is a step before that. Generally. Then test steps we already discussed. Steps that need to be executed to test the requirement. Test data that you are using for testing. Now for one test case, this is one test case. Can I have one test data or more test data?
More.
For one test case, can I have one test data or more test data?
More.
I need everybody to type online.
More.
You guys have gone out for lunch, I know that you're not there.
అంటే ఇప్పుడు లాగిన్ కి చాలా డేటాలు పెట్టి టెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం అందుకని
Yes, it can be more. It can be more.
Usually at least
Absolutely
3.
correct. Why? Because let's say if I'm saying, let's say my what I'm testing is valid. Let's say description is I'm testing a valid username. So he's given me so many conditions here. If you look at the requirement here, he's given me so many conditions here. He's told me alphanumeric in lowercase between 4 to 8 characters. So there can be so many combinations. So I have to go ahead and test all the combinations, or at least more than 1, 2, 3 combinations. So that's why test data can be more. write separate test data here, separate test data here, separate test data here. Does this make sense? No. The best way will be for valid users, I'm going to write one test case and then this test data. I can say that for valid username, I can say pick up this is this test data. So this is known as parameterization. That means for one test case, I am giving more than one value for the test data. So I am parameterizing it. When you are doing manually, you have to test for each and every test data. But when you are doing testing using automation, then you can create one Excel file with different username and different password, and your testing tool can pick up all the data from there. You don't have to do it. That makes your life easy. So if you have to do username and password and there are 200 username and 200 password, if you have to do it manually, you will have to sit and do it manually those 200 times. But if you have an automation tool, you can just go ahead and it will automatically keep picking up the values from the Excel sheet and it will do it on it. Right? Again, there is no hard and fast tool. I can have one sheet here and I can call this as test data, or I can have it here also, and here only below this I can do it here also. Okay. So there is nothing. Yes. In some organizations, the test data is given to you. In some organizations, you have to go ahead and create it. Right? So this is your test data, that is test data to be used for testing. Then you have expected result is as per the stated requirement, and actual is when you are executing this test case on the application, on the software, and output is pass or fail. So when your expected is equal to your actual, then it is pass. But when your expected is not equal to this, then this is fail. This is not equal to A, then it is fail. Right? You are doing so much of testing in detail. So now if I tell you that the user acceptance testing has to be done, so you can go ahead and help those people with the user acceptance testing, but they don't know this test case format. The users don't know all these things, so you will help them with this kind of testing. So they are not going to go into detail and say okay, now let me enter valid, now let me enter unvalid, now let me enter blank. They are not going to go ahead and do that. They are just going to go ahead and do it. Just a business flow. Then we have to write, right? When it is failed here, if you want, you can go ahead and write the bug ID. Or you can go any information that you want to share, you can write that. But again, the bug that you're going to be logging, that will be logged in a separate tool. Right? What if it is failed, what should be done? Yeah, I just answered that. If it is failed, we are going to go ahead and log the bug, and we are going to log it in some kind of a tool that is being used in your project. Who will fix the bug? The developer will fix the bug. So our job is to go ahead and report the bug. Reporting the bug is also very, very important, because if you are not able to report it properly, then the developer does not get all the information. And when you are reporting the bug, one thing that you have to remember is that this test case document, I am not sharing with the developer. So what they are getting is the bug report. So that's why bug report is so important. So this test case is just for me. That is the test case. Find the bug and just be given to the developer. every morning there will be an email. Goes to the BA also. Everybody, whoever. Now again, that can be decided in the project, but generally everybody. BA might not open it, might not read it, that's up to him, but an email will go to anybody. And not only when you log a bug, when the status of the bug is changed. What is the status of the bug, how it is changed, we'll talk about it later, but whenever the status is changed or you make a comment in a bug, again, everybody is attending. So any kind of change you do, an email will be generated. Right? So now what are we going to do? We are going to create the test cases. So we've created RTM for this. That is, we've gone ahead and we've recorded all the requirements for this. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to create the test cases. But before that, let me go to the slide and see if we've done everything. So this is done. Now test data, I told you we are going to do it later. So in test data, we are going to learn something known as equivalence partitioning and we are going to learn something known as boundary values. So this maybe we'll do it in the next class. As far as the test cases are concerned, this is complete. So till now, any doubts? Till now, any doubts? All good? Okay. So now we are going to look at the requirement and we are going to write the test case. So what is the first requirement here? I think you should sit with somebody. Just come here in the front. Because the projector for some reason is not working, so everybody is just logging on to the thing and checking. So this is the requirement. So I go back to my format of the test case. The module that I am looking at is Gmail login. Then I go to the test case ID. We are right now talking about the Gmail main page. So I'm going to say test Gmail page. Right? Then I'm going to say, give it to me. Then I'm going to write the test step. So what do you think should be the test step? That is the precondition. Right now we are talking about test step. We will come to the browser and open the browser and enter the. Okay, so maybe I will not go into the detail of open the browser. First of all, I'm going to write it in points. I'm going to say open the Gmail login page with the URL in the browser. So even if you say open the browser, it is not incorrect. Please remember that. It's not that it is incorrect. So the data is the URL here. What is the URL? www.gmail.com. At this point, this is the one. So what is the expected result here? So it opens here. The Gmail login page opens with the URL in the browser and the username and password sign-in button appears. So the username, password, text box and the sign-in button appears also has to be written here. Now what is the precondition for this? Now before I execute this test step, what should be there? Internet connection should be. Now what is the test case ID that I can go ahead and call it? Gmail underscore login underscore name page. It can be anything. It can be that number also. That was the requirement ID. No. It can't be that. No. Yeah, the test lead will tell you. The test lead will tell you, hey, you know what? Take 3 characters of Gmail. So some people might go ahead and write it as not necessary to have the underscore. It is completely up to you. It's your discretion. This is just a simple sample format. The second condition that we are talking about is for the valid username and password. Click on the sign in button and the account opens with the inbox. So if I take this information here, I can use some of it here. So what should happen? The account opens. This I can use it in the right. So what am I testing here? I'm testing here is test login valid because I'm going to do invalid and blank also. That's why I'm calling it valid. This is invalid and this is blank. So this is going to be invalid and this is going to be blank. Right? Then now when I do this invalid, this is login valid. So Gmail login valid. This is Gmail login invalid. Or I can say ID also. So again, nothing is right or wrong. Gmail login blank. Now, here's what is going to be the precondition. Generally, the precondition is the step before that. So, what is the step before this? Main page, or you can write main page should be open. It doesn't mean that you only have to copy paste from there. You can write it like this also. That is completely your discretion. Now, what is the test data here that I'm going to go ahead and give? Now first, please remember this has to be completely like, enter valid username and enter username. Then it can be, second is enter valid password. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to break it down into very clear steps so that nobody can think. I mean, I don't want you to use your brains because I have done understanding for this requirement, so you just listen to me and do what's written here. Right? So enter valid username, enter valid password, and then I want you to click on the sign button. And here, if I'm putting ports like this, username, and if I put in password, that means that I'm giving it more than one value. Which checkbox? Which one? Stay signed in. Yeah, we are not because in the requirement they have not told us anything. If they had given it to us in the requirement, then I would do it. Yes, each and everything will be given in the requirement. So here I'm going ahead and I'm saying enter valid username, enter valid password, and this is when I say and the account opens with inbox. Now when if that is new and then we have to put it in the test case ID also. That also will be tested. Yeah, but you will not put it in the test case ID. You will add another step here. Here, when you are when I'm entering valid username, valid password, then I check on stay signed in, then I click on the sign button. So it will be added in the test step. Right? Now what am I going to do? So I'm coming back to my format. So you have said that is not in test data, that is in test step. Okay. Right. Oh, test step. But in test data, you have the username password. Yeah. In the test, so you have to mention here how there in the left side does say that the lowercase alphabet. Yes. So we are going to use those values, those business rules, and then I'm going to create test data and put here. That we'll talk in the next class. Right now, just leave this test data. Okay. For the time being. Yeah, because if I again now start with what is, equivalence partitioning, boundary value, then we get all hodgepodge. So let's first understand test case, then we'll understand test data. No, you will write the test data, you don't need to mention what we have given. No. Okay. Using that information, you are going to go ahead and create the test data, but you don't have to write it here. But yes, if you want to write it, you can add it in the requirement RTM. If you want here, you can go ahead and write. Here, if you want to write, that's for username and username, and for password here you can write whatever business rules are written there. But in the test case you don't have to write. Right? So this is the test data. Now, if I have to go ahead and check, this is valid, this is invalid, this is invalid, and then what will happen in case of invalid? In case of there is valid username and invalid password. Why? Why don't we make two different test cases for this single requirement, like invalid username and valid password, and we will do it. Yeah. Yes, we will do all combinations that you can think of. Right now we're just doing it simple, and then we go and pick up and put everything. So now, if there is invalid username and password, the account does not open and the error messages. So I go to the format of the test case, and here what is happening is the account does not open and error message is displayed. Now, what error message is displayed that the BA is going to tell me, then clearly I have to mention it here. The error message, this should be displayed. Because if this error message is not being displayed also, it's an error. It's a bug. Error message and which page login should display or cursor should point in empty password and all the information required. What is this? Is this Anandita? Can you just explain? So now when I have blank, so I can go ahead and say enter. Instead of invalid, I can go ahead and say enter blank username and enter blank password. Click on the sign in button. So here I am not going to give too many values for this, so I don't need these double quotes here. So I can go ahead and just say simple blank till what time are your classes? Upstairs. So here. Okay. No, whatever. Yeah. No problem. No, that's okay. Right? So this is clear to everybody? Is this clear to all of you? Yes. They have to tell us each and everything. Right? When entered valid user ID and password, an inbox is opening. When you are entering invalid username and password, where should the cursor be? What should happen? Yeah, exactly. So here when you say the account does not open and the error message is displayed, so you have to correctly understand from the BA where will the error message come? Will another window pop up on top of this? Or the error message will come then and there only? So how does it work? You have to check with them also for that. So they will give you each and every detail. Where should the cursor be? What should be? So you have to know each and everything, because then only can you go ahead and test it. So this you've created the test case for the. Now what are we going to do? We are going to do the mapping. Right? So now I have a test case ID. I have the precondition, I have the description, I have everything. So I'm going to go back to my RTM. So this was my RTM. So now in my RTM, what is the test case ID? What is the test case ID that is there for this? This is the test case ID, right? GL underscore PG. So here the ID is GL underscore PG. Now here if you see, there is no test case name here. So you can just go ahead and ignore that right now, because I removed it from here because it was getting too many columns. The description is test Gmail test Gmail page. Test Gmail main page. So I copy this and I put it here. Then what is the, let me just go ahead and delete this. So what is the, for requirement one, it should come here.
Yeah, obviously.
She wants me to go to
Tell her if baby is allowed. Otherwise,
Right now you are just looking
tell
at
her if
one
you're going, the
requirement.
baby has to
Imagine if
go
there are
with you.
100 requirements. How
Then
do you
otherwise
predict
you're not
that?
allowed.
At least if I look at the requirements, I know, okay, for main page, yeah, 10 space is written. For login, it is written. For invalid, it is written. But if it is not written, then
Otherwise
you are mapping it basically. You are checking that for each requirement, the test case is written. That is what we are trying to do. Right? So now if you have your login valid,
Raj will play.
so obviously if you go here, what is login valid? This is your GL, V, and what is the test login valid. So I come here and I say test login valid. Then now if I have the third one, that is my Gmail login invalid. So what am I testing here? I am testing test login invalid. Then I have Gmail login blank. So I have test login blank. Now RTM, test case and mapping are three things clear or not?
They're not going outside right now. Raj is not going out.
This is RTM. That for every requirement a test case has been written. This is mapping what we did right now. We map each requirement with the test case. Yes. This is and so first there was test case and this requirement. So we just met.
This is a postman every Sunday.
Let's see once what we have done for our understanding. Let's just do a recap of what did we do right
Every
now.
Sunday delivery.
What I did was so what did I do right now? First I read the requirements for Gmail. I understood the then what did I do? If I had any doubts, I checked with the PA. Then what did I do? I created the RTM. So when I created the RTM, in RTM I am writing only the requirements. PA is the one who's writing the requirements, so PA will flag. PM does not know anything detail about the requirement. So if you have any doubts, you will have a process in place. For everything, you don't keep going to the PM. So there will be a process in place. You will be told that if you have any doubts, this is the Excel sheet, keep filling it up, and the PA will keep updating it. Or when you have daily stand-up meetings, you get it clear from the PA there.
Testing
When you have your RTM, then we created test cases for Gmail. And the part that we left out was the test data, which we are going to do in the next class.
Yeah.
Then after this, what did we do? We opened the RTM and we mapped it. Mapped it means we wrote the test case ID and the description. Now, in your organization, when you join, you might have a format where you want to write only the ID and not the description, so it depends. So any doubts with this?
Review form
I do.
I hope not. Any doubts, guys? Online.
That's all.
Where is the review form in this step? The review form, if we are going to review the test cases, it will be here.
Yeah, చెప్పినా టెస్ట్ కేసెస్ తర్వాత ఉంటుంది.
A review of the that is that it is done among
టెస్ట్ కేసెస్
each
చేసినాక
other,
రివ్యూ చేయాలి
and
కదా
what
ఎవరో ఒకరు,
we
అదే
do
రివ్యూ
wherein
ఫామ్.
you can have your
అది
తర్వాత
టెస్టింగ్
you can go
అవ్వకముందు.
ahead and review the
ఓకే, తర్వాత టెస్ట్ చేస్తాం.
టెస్ట్ చేసిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ బగ్ వచ్చిన మళ్ళీ
explain point 6.
మళ్ళీ
ఇదంతట్లో కూడా ఇంకా టెస్టింగ్ లేదు,
That
ఇంకా
is, you are
యాక్చువల్
going
టెస్టింగ్
ahead
లేదు.
and for each requirement you are writing the
This is
test
only
case
all
IDs
paper
for
work,
them.
paperwork.
So if you look here,
యాక్చువల్ టెస్టింగ్
if you
లేదు.
see here, this is called the mapping. This part, when I'm writing this is the mapping. For each requirement, I am writing the test case. Now here is the requirement. If you want to take a break, take a break. If you don't want to take a break, then what I want to do is I want you to go ahead and look at this requirement. This is different from what we did yesterday. For this requirement, create the RTM, create the test cases and do the mapping. Everybody. Anandita, just give me a minute and I'll come back. Right? So everybody.
బ్రేక్
Me and Adeline are playing with LeBron.
So I'm going to see it written. I'm going to check on the piece of paper everything. Yes, on the computer or the paper, whatever.
నేను ఉందా. I think she's going to make us right.
ఆర్టీఎం
Yeah. సో నిన్న పంపించిందంట కదా ఆన్లైన్లో, దాంట్లో ఫిల్అప్ చేద్దాం. For 001 ID Jyoti. Okay. The store locator functionality appears on the top menu of the home page. Description.
ఎంటర్ వ్యాలిడ్ జిప్ కోడ్ ద స్టోర్ డీటెయిల్స్
కాకపోతే ఇది మనకి ఈమెయిల్లో పంపలేదు.
సెలెక్ట్ చేయడం అదేమో పేపర్ మీద రాయడం.
Ray. Raju?
Come in. Come here.
baby with you.
Yeah.
Okay, and be nice to her, okay? I don't want to see her crying. कॉफी कॉफी नहीं क्यों फिर कॉफी नहीं हो तो you cry. నా మాటలు వింటారా?
నేను రాసేది కరెక్ట్.
ఏం రాత్రం నీ నాకైతే గీకుతూ ఉంది టక 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 రైట్ గీకుతుందో రాంగ్ గీకుతుందో దేవుడికి తెలియాలి. ఓకే వీఆర్ ఇన్ బిజినెస్. ఏమని రాశారు ఇప్పటిదాకా? అది టెస్ట్ కేసులు జ్యోతి, అది ఆర్టీఎం ఎందుకైంది? దిస్ ఇస్ అ ఫార్మాట్ కదా, టెస్ట్ కేసెస్ రాయట్లేదు కదా, ఓన్లీ ఆర్టీఎం కదా. అవునమ్మా ఇవన్నీ రాయట్లేదు, ఓన్లీ థింక్ సో. కానీ ఇదంతా ఇక్కడ ఎంటర్ వ్యాలిడ్ జిప్ కోడ్ ఇదంతా కాదు కదా, అక్కడ ఇదేముంది ఇది రాయాలి కదా, స్టోర్ లొకేటర్ ఫంక్షనల్ అపియర్స్ ఆన్ ద టాప్, అది కదా డిస్క్రిప్షన్. ఇందాక ఆమె కాపీ పేస్ట్ చేయలేదు అది. నన్ను చూస్తుంది అందుకే ఇట్లా ఆన్లైన్లో చూడు కూడా. ఇక నువ్వు చేయలేకపోతే మనకు వర్క్ అట్ట చేస్తాం. మాత్రం straight up copy.
కానీ అవి ఇప్పుడు రాసి చూపించిన దానిలో ఇంకోటి కూడా దానికి ఎక్స్పెక్టెడ్ రిజల్ట్ కూడా రాసింది. డేటా ఫస్ట్ డేటా కూడా రాసింది. అది
కరెక్ట్. ఐ డోంట్ థింక్ అదంతా చేయమని
యూజర్
చెప్పిందని
నేమ్
అనుకోడు.
పాస్వర్డ్ లాగిన్ పెట్టినప్పుడు యూజర్ నేమ్ పాస్వర్డ్ చూపించింది. ఎందుకంటే అది ఎక్కడ పెట్టాలి? మీదేం పంపించారా? ఓకే,
Do it properly. RTM separate, that separate, everything separate. So, should we start making the test cases now? Yes.
ఇందాక చెప్పేటప్పుడు టెస్ట్ కేసు నేనేమి ఇచ్చింది తెలుసా నీకు?
టెస్ట్ కేస్ నేమ్, దానికి టెస్ట్ కేస్ నేమ్ ఎట్లా ఇచ్చిందంటే ఆమె లాగిన్కి ఏమో ఇట్లా ఇచ్చింది.
ఐడి సేమ్ పెట్టిందా? ఈ FR001 అనేది ఇక్కడ FR001 అని పెట్టిందా?
అక్కడేం పెట్టలేదు. అట్లా అక్కడ ఎట్లా పెట్టిందంటే ఆమె లాగిన్కి జీమెయిల్ లాగిన్
యా అక్కడే అది టెస్ట్ నేమ్. అది ఇక్కడేం పెట్టింది ఐడి? ఐడి
ఐడి 3ని ఎంటర్ చేసింది ఆమె. 1 2 3 అంతే. ఇక మిగతా ఏం పెట్టలేదు.
అంటే ఇక్కడ ఐడిలో ఏం రాయలేదా?
ఏం రాయలేదు.
మరి అది కూడా రాయాలేమో మరి. అడుగుదాం ఆన్లైన్లో. టెస్ట్ కేస్ నేమ్ అండ్ డిస్క్రిప్షన్. Do you want to write the test case name and also the case description?
Everything, Nikhil, test case ID, test case description.
Okay.
ఏంటా?
Yep. Name
You
and
have to
description.
write down everything. We can copy paste. No, you can't copy paste. Write down.
ఏంటా?
Store location on the top menu of the home page. నేను వినలేదు ఈ భాగం నేను ఏమేమి నోట్స్ రాసేది అన్ని కాపీ చేసావు ఇందాక
అసలు
ఎట్లా?
నేను రాయలేదు. నేను వింటా ఉన్నా. నేను ఇప్పుడు రాసింది. నేను రాస్తా కూర్చున్నా చెప్పేది ఏంటంటే సరిగ్గా అర్థం కాదు.
ఓకే. It's not good.